All right, I'm going to be short and sweet. Fast and furious. Fast and furious, man. I said that for you. So do you want to, you know what you do right there? Because you have my butt in your face.
He comes out here to let it out.
Okay, well, we won't go there. So, anyways, got a quote for you. Ready? In the beginning, God created man in his image, and man has been returning the favor ever since. In the beginning, God created man in his image, and man has been returning the favor ever since. Mona Lisa. So it's a famous song by who? Elton John. Right? It's a great song. It's also a famous what? Painting. So, but if you go, but you know, it's been replicated so many times, right? It's been redone so many times, but there's only one what? Original. Who painted it? Some French guy. Who? That would be incorrect. It was not Da Vinci, right?
What, the Mona Lisa?
Yeah. It was Leonardo da Vinci, man. Excuse me. You are correct. It was Leonardo da Vinci. I was thinking somebody else. Okay. So there's been so many different replications of it. So many people have tried to paint their own version of it. Like, you know, like even if you go to Sheena's house, okay, she has what she calls the Sheena Lisa on her wall. It was painted by your mom, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's a picture of Sheena, and it's named the Sheena Lisa. So there's so many different paintings. So the Mona Lisa, although there's only one, there's been so many different replications of it, right? So, and you know, I mean, why Mona? I mean, Mona is such a horrible name too, man. You could have named it something else. Mona. Ugh. Mona is a god-awful name, isn't it? You know, how about like the Michelle Lisa, man, or Laura Lisa? Mona Lisa. Anyways, I mean, that's another sermon. That's another message altogether. So Moses had a question to God. In Exodus chapter 3, God comes into Moses' life, you know, in the burning bush, right? You know, and he sees this bush on fire, and he's like, I got to go see what this is all about. So when God comes into Moses' life and tells him, I want to use you, man, to free my people from Egypt, right? So Moses asks God something in Exodus chapter 3, beginning in verse number 13. He says this. He says, Moses said to God, behold, I'm going to the sons of Israel, and I will say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. Now they may ask me, what is your name? What shall I say to them? And then God said, tell them, I am who I am. Thus you shall say to them, I am has sent you. It's like, okay, right? The truth is this. We're not very comfortable with what God said. We're not very comfortable, man, with you know, he said, tell them I am who I am. We would rather, you know, he didn't say I am who you want me to be. I am who you think I should be. I am who you feel I should be on any particular day. I am what you want to draw me to be. You know, he said, I am who I am. And we don't like that. You know, it's like I used to do martial arts, right? And form work is very precise. Like there's a way to do it. You don't add to it. You don't subtract from it. You don't look for shortcuts. You do the moves as you should do them, right? They're very precise. But plenty of people, man, in martial arts, man, they like shortcuts. And they create their own forms because it's easier. It's not as time consuming. You don't have to put into practice as much, right? So you know, and that's what we do to God, man. We create him in our own image. And it's, you know, I am who you want me to be. I am who I think you should be. I am who I feel. I am, you know, you are the version of God that I want you to be. No, he says, I am who I am. All right, I'm getting to my point. Sometimes, ready? sometimes not all the time, but sometimes, if you see something as it really is, you'll never be the same. Did you hear me? Sometimes, if you can see something for how it really is, you'll never be the same. Like when I went to Africa, I did missionary work a long time ago, like in 94. So I met Debbie right before, and we were dating. And so I went to Africa, I came back, and she was at the airport. And you know, it wasn't until I got to know her on the inside that I really saw who she was. You know, I used to go to Philadelphia, man, and minister, man, to people on the subways in the streets. So I just used to do my thing. One morning, I'll never forget, there was this woman who was sleeping in, like outside someplace, all wrapped up in blankets, an old woman, and I just saw her as the pearl of priceless value that I saw her. It says in Mark's Gospel, there's a wonderful parable, man, Jesus says he's like the kingdom of God is like a pearl merchant who went out seeking fine pearls, and when he found one of great value, he sold everything he had to get that pearl. It's like I saw her as that pearl, and ever since then, I wanted to preach, man, the gospel kind of to individuals, because I knew that the one is just as priceless to God as the many, right? When you see something as it really is, sometimes it can change your life. So I got something to admit. And I hope you don't think I'm crazy. Well, I don't know. I mean, you might already think I'm crazy, right? Maybe. I've seen God. Give me a hand. Give me a hand. Thank you. That deserves a hand. That deserves a hand. Hey, Danny. I've seen God. He hasn't come down, in a vision, and I didn't see it. But through descriptions in the Bible, I've seen him for what he's like. It's like, have you seen God for who he really is? It's like, I feel like I've seen him, and I can never be the same. So the Bible is not this. Ready? The Bible is not basic instructions before leaving earth. That's not what it is. The Bible is where we come to see what God is like and where we meet with him. Do you understand what that means? It's like, I love 72 Chevelles. That's my favorite car. A 72 Chevelle, man. Particularly royal blue with white stripes on the hood. It's so hot looking to me on the outside. But you know what? The inside of the car is equally as awesome, right? It's got a 454 V8, 360 horsepower chrome engine. That also is equally hot to me. It's like, I feel like we all concentrate, on the side of God that is love and that is mercy and that is compassion. But there's another side to him. It's like, have you seen that side? Ready? Don't worry, I can talk as loud as that PA can.
Amen.
I can talk as loud as that PA can, and kind of looks like I'm going to be forced to now, right, Gabby? All right, here we go. So I'm going to read something in Exodus chapter 33, beginning in verse number 18. Moses said to God, man, one day, he says, I pray that you would show me your glory. Show me your glory, he said. And then God said, I will make all my goodness pass before you and proclaim the name of the Lord before you. And I will be gracious to whom I am gracious and will show compassion on whom I show compassion. But then God said, you cannot see my face and live. Did you hear me? What did I say? You cannot see my face and live. What does that mean? What does that mean? God says, you can't, like you would be incinerated, burned up in a flame. You would go up, boom, puff, the magic dragon. You would be a torch. It's like, I used to wear hairpiece, man, many years ago. Yeah, okay, but I admit that I used to wear one of those wigs, man. But thank God, man, my wife said, throw that thing away. And amen, I did many years ago. So I used to make pizza, man, many years ago, too, man, when I was like 18, 19, 20. So I would be close to the pizza oven at 20 years old. I had my hairpiece on. And you know what happens, man, if you get too close, man, to a 600 degree oven, man, with a hairpiece. So I'd be coming home and it'd be singed around the front and stuff. It was quite embarrassing. We would be singed, go up in flames if we saw God for who He was. He's that unique and different and holy. And we would just go up. Do you understand that? What does that do to you? Does that do something to you? You know, the Bible talks about fearing God is the beginning of wisdom. And Ashley on Thursday night asked about, man, the fear of God. And, really, it's a reverence for His utmost. It's a complete honoring and reverence for who He is, for how good He is, for how loving He is, for how merciful He is, but also for the fact that you can't see Him and live, for how holy He is and unique and different, for the fact that He dwells in unapproachable light, too. Not only for the fact that He's just pure love, you would burn up. Do you see Him in that light? All right, number 2. 1 Timothy chapter 6, man, the Apostle Paul says to Timothy, he goes this. So he prays at the end, he goes, so he's praying here. He goes, He who is blessed and the only sovereign, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, He who alone dwells in unapproachable light, whom no man can see or hear. So in 1989, right, there was a big song called by MC Hammer called "Can't Touch This," which I'm not a fan of, right? But it's like, yeah. So let me ask you something. Ready, man? I want you, man, to think about this for a couple seconds. What do you possess? Name some things, man, that you possess. Come on, shout them out there, man. What do you possess? Joe possesses his guitar. Come on, man. What else? Soul, man. What do you possess? TV. I possess a car. I'm going to drive home in it. What do you possess? Personality. What else do you possess? Come on, start saying things. A house. Okay. Drum. A drum. So, do you possess never-ending existence? The Bible says that God possesses immortality, and He dwells in unapproachable light. Like, the word immortality means this. Ready? Never-ending existence. You can't touch that. We can't touch that. We can't begin to approach that. It's like, what? This is our God. What does that do to you? Do you see Him in that light? You might never be the same if you really do. So there's a movie called Risen. So do y'all see Risen? Great movie. It's about the Roman soldier who was responsible for the crucifixion of Christ, and it's the movie that is shown through his eyes. He becomes a disciple of Jesus. He sees Jesus after. It's very interesting. It's told from the Roman soldier's perspective. He sees Jesus after he's in the upper room, and he meets Jesus in the upper room, and he begins to follow Jesus, and he's real skeptical at first, but by the end of the movie, he goes into this house. He's wandering, and he walks into this little house, and this man is there at the house, and the man goes, "Do you really believe this?" And he goes, "Yes, and I can never be the same." How can we ever be the same if we really see God as the one who dwells in unapproachable light, who possesses immortality? whom no man can see and live. This is the God I see, man. Revelations chapter 1. Get this. You're going to like this one. Beginning in verse number 13. Revelations 1, beginning of verse. This is the Apostle John. He's on the island of Patmos. He's exiled. And he gets visions of Jesus. He says, I saw one like the Son of Man, clothed in a robe, reaching to his feet, girded across his chest with a golden sash. His head and his hair were like white wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze when it has been made to glow in a furnace. His voice was like the sound of many waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars. Out of his mouth came a sharp two-edged sword, and his face was like the sun, shining in all of its strength. When I saw him, I fell at his feet and became a dead man. That was Jesus' best friend on the planet Earth, the Apostle John. When he saw Jesus, who was his bestie on the planet Earth, he fell to the ground like, I'm just destroyed, I'm dead, I'm undone. Because he saw Christ in his brilliance. It's like, that's his best friend. How would we react? Think about it for a second. Think about that for a second. Last one, a familiar one, Isaiah chapter 6. Everybody knows this. I'm just going to read it. So Isaiah the prophet gets a vision of God Almighty, right? So it says this. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a lofty throne and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. Seraphim stood above, each having 6 wings. With 2 of the wings he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called out to another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundations of the thresholds trembled at the voice of him who called out, while the temple was filling with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, for I am ruined. I am ruined. So what did Isaiah say when God gives us a glimpse? Like God gave Isaiah a glimpse of who he was. Just he opened the crack like this much and gave him a glimpse. What was his reaction? He said, Woe is me. Do you know what woe is me means in the original language? It means I am totally destroyed. I am dead in the water. Woe was the strongest word any human being could live. Guttural. It was a guttural word. He said, I am undone and destroyed. I'm a dead man. I mean, let's make no mistake. Y'all, look at me. Look at me. Do you see God as more than love and compassion and mercy? Do you see him as the one who dwells in unapproachable light, who no human being can see and live? And if so, what does that do? It should change everything. If somebody sees something as they really are, it should change everything. You know? I mean, yesterday I went to Long Beach Island, right? And I had to get away, so I went to the island and I walked on the beach. Dude, you know what I did? I just sat there and I picked up a handful of sand and I let him go fall out through my fingers. I just picked up, I grabbed a big handful and let it sift through my fingers until all the grains were gone. How many thousands of grains of sand were in my hand? Each one molecularly different, atomically different from each other. Each grain of sand. And I had thousands in my hands. And think about how many there are in the world. You know? The one who dwells in unapproachable light, who no man can see and live, created that. And if that doesn't rock your world, nothing will. If that doesn't cause you to align yourself with with his ways and say, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm following you. I'm through. I'm done. I mean, this one's what. I mean, if that doesn't do it, I mean, I just found out 2 weeks ago, you know, a girl, man, that we know, you know, if you saw her walking down the street, you would know her. She had a needle in his arm, in, you know, her arm, dead. A guy down the street Wednesday night got shot 5 times. A 12-year-old girl a week and a half ago got shot in her belly. I mean, life is precious. Life is precious. It's like, you know, anything in your life, that is causing you not to see him for the God that I just described, not to see him like that, you run away from, because it's a distraction. You run away from. I mean, what can we do? Right? This is an hour service. That's an hour service. And then we have an hour service on Thursday. And we have a service here. But this is, if you see God for who he really is, this has nothing to do with services. This is life-changing. What you think about your God and how you see your God is what you will ultimately become like. Jesus said, if the eye is clear, it gives light to the whole body. What you think about your God and how you see him would and should dictate your whole life. It's very important. Very important. So anyways, man, I think I'm on to something, right? Hopefully. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. You know, I hope so. So, I just know that I'm going to go home in a half hour and life is going to happen. Tomorrow, life is going to happen. Tuesday, life is going to happen wherever you are. And these truths about who God is need to be embedded in your mind. Need to be embedded in you. So, anyways.